Good afternoon. My name is John Kogan. I am here on behalf of NJACAC and StriveScan to welcome you all to the Pace University information session. Just some housekeeping tips and tricks before we get started. You can definitely make sure to check out the rest of our virtual fair that is going to be continuing through this week. You can do so by heading to njacac.org/virtual fair. You can also access that website for all recordings that we are going to be having throughout this this past week. We are using Zoom webinar, which means that your camera and microphone will be off for this entire presentation. You are still more than welcome to ask questions by heading down to the bottom of your screen and clicking on the Q&A button. That will add the option for you to ask questions, and our fantastic presenters from PACE will be able to answer those questions as they go through their presentation. So I am going to turn it over to them, and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks so much. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Morgan. I'm one of the admission counselors at PACE. We are very happy to have you join us. We're going to explain a little bit about PACE as we go. Like was said, feel free to put questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be happy to answer those out loud as we make our way through the presentation. We have a range of different admission counselors for different parts of the country. So depending on where you are, at the end of this, please let us know if you want us to connect you with whoever it is that represents your part of the country. For myself, I'm the admission counselor for Staten Island and for Central and South Jersey. I'm going to pass it off to Bridget to introduce herself as well.
Hi everyone, my name's Bridget. I'm an undergraduate admissions counselor at PACE, and I've been working here for about 2 years. And my territory in New Jersey is Northern New Jersey, and I also recruit in Colorado.
Great. So we're going to get started. The basics about PACE. PACE was founded in 1906 by two brothers helping their friends pass accounting tests. Fast forward 100 years, we're very different. We are a private liberal arts college based around New York City. We have two campuses, one right in the middle of New York, one just outside of the city, and we'll explain both the campuses. We have over 100 different majors to choose from, over 150 different clubs and organizations to choose from. We have one of the biggest internship placement programs in the New York City area. Something that you're going to hear a little bit about today, something to kind of frame our conversation, something you might hear about over the next couple months if you apply to PACE, is the PACE Path. The PACE Path is how we guarantee that students graduate on time and get everything out of the experience at PACE that they wanted to. It's definitely a big part of the reason why we were named the #1 school, #1 private college in the nation for upward economic mobility. So we talk about the PACE Path having 3 pillars. You're definitely not making this by yourself. I know trying to plan 4 years in advance could be really hard. For me, sometimes planning the next couple weeks in advance is really hard. So that's where the first pillar of the PACE Path comes in. So in the bottom left screen, dedicated mentors and advisors. So when you start at PACE, you'll have a current student and a staff member who are going to be assigned to you, and they're going to help you to build this plan. So you're not doing it alone. You'll have some support from somebody who's kind of in the middle of the process, somebody who is above it. And then obviously 4 years is a long time. So your plans might change, it might move around, but we have found, and students have found, that it's really nice and it's very reassuring to have something you refer back to over your time, even if you need to change it, just to make sure you're getting the most out of your experience that you wanted to. We're going to go into a little bit more detail about the other 2 pillars that you can see up on your screen, the first being academics.
Thanks, Morgan. So like Morgan said, the first part of the PACE Path is our strong academics. So we have over 150 majors, accelerated bachelor's, and graduate degree programs. And we have 5 undergraduate colleges for you to choose from. So the first is the College of Health Professions, which houses our health science and our nursing major. Nursing, as a FYI, is exclusive to our Westchester campus. Then we have the Dyson College of Arts and Sciences, which is one of our largest liberal arts. It's our liberal arts program, so one of our largest colleges on campus. It houses our economics majors, it houses our performing arts majors, and every student will actually take a few classes through the Dyson College of Arts and Sciences. Since it's our liberal arts school, you'll be taking your general math, your science, your English, your history, your foreign language classes through the Dyson College of Arts and Sciences. Then we have our Leuven School of Business, which is our business school. So there are majors like business, marketing, management, and accounting. And like Morgan said, we were founded as a business school back in 1906, but as you can see now, we have over 100 majors that you can choose from. And we are also one of the 3% of the schools in the world that are accredited for both business and accounting. And then we have our School of Education. Students there are working to be certified to teach students ages 0 through 18, so all the way up through high school. And then you will often do that as a paired with a master's program. And the Seidenberg School of Computer Science and Information Systems houses our computer science classes and also offers classes in data mining, robotics, and coding. We always encourage students to look into taking a technology as a minor, just because it is such a growing field and it does give you a really strong base to make sure that you're prepared for that job world after graduation. And then we also have our Elizabeth Haupt School of Law, which is our law school. So students have the opportunity to do a 3-year program with us undergraduate and then apply to the law school and do their 3 years getting their JD in Westchester, New York. And next, we're going to talk a little bit about our combined degree programs. So our combined degree programs are essentially just combining your bachelor's and your master's, saving yourself a little bit more time and money. Our most popular ones are listed on the right-hand side. I always like to point out education, primarily because in New York, it is required that you do have a master's if you are teaching. So once you get certified in New York, you can kind of translate that to wherever you are. Back in New Jersey, you could go to Alaska and teach, things like that. And your scholarship generally will carry over for that 5th year, as long as you are working with the graduate department as well. So you can start thinking about that around your junior year at PACE, and that would be part of your PACE path.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of what it's like to be on our New York City campus. This is our original site where we were founded. It's located in the middle of Manhattan, right next to the Brooklyn Bridge in the financial district. It has around somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 students. So it's a mid-sized campus, but when you leave any of our buildings, you are right in the middle of New York. It's not set up like a traditional campus. It's a lot more vertical. So I would say on that campus, being inside the buildings is really what I would consider our campus, quote unquote. So what is nice about it though is that everything is within 5 blocks. From the furthest point to the other, I've Google Maps it, it's 7 minutes tops, so you don't have to rely on the subway, buses, anything like that. It's very convenient for getting around. And then obviously, if you do want to go explore the rest of the city, the subway is right there and there are options for doing that too. This campus just underwent a pretty big renovation. So it was about, actually, I'll talk about living on campus first, and then I'll jump to the renovation. So living on campus is an option. It's available all 4 years at PACE, as long as you submit your housing deposit online on time, which is typically by May 1st. You don't have to live on campus if you don't want to, though. So about 74% of freshmen choose to live on campus. That number does go down over the years as people move off campus or start commuting from home, things like that. So whatever is most comfortable to you when it comes to your living situation is something that we're willing to work with. For first-year students, there are 2 options. They are the 2 at the bottom of your screen, so 182 Broadway and Maria's Tower. The difference between the 2, Maria's Tower is one of our original buildings built in the 60s. It's a more traditional residence hall, so everybody lives in doubles and triples, and then they share bathrooms on each floor. 182 Broadway is a more recent building, and that in that one, all of the rooms have their own private bathrooms that you would only be sharing with the other students in your room. And then that campus just underwent a renovation. So we just renovated half of our main building, which is called One PACE Plaza. The idea was to add more spaces that students could spend time in on campus outside of the library. So as you can see, we added a lot of lounges, study areas, some meeting rooms like the one you can see in the back of this photo for our clubs and organizations to use. So really the focus was give our students somewhere to be on campus where they're going to be comfortable, and so they don't always have to be in the library or the cafeteria. And then there are 2 more small pieces of renovation coming up, well, large pieces. One is that we're about to renovate all of our classrooms this coming summer. So when you start next fall, those will all be brand new. And then in fall 2023, the half of our main building that we haven't renovated yet will be moving about 2 blocks You can actually see the new space from the front door. So fall 2023, you'll be using all equipment and all areas that have been built or rebuilt in the last 20 years. State of the art.
All right, so traveling up to our Westchester campus, which is about 45 minutes north of New York City. So you really do have the opportunity to stay close to New York, but still get that traditional campus feel, right? So there's over 200 acres on our Westchester campus. So Westchester is the county. Our campus is in a town called Pleasantville. We usually like to say that because it is so pleasant. It's always sunny and green and grassy up there. It's home to our nature center as well as our Division II sports teams. There's about 2,600 students that are located in Westchester, and they are living in 6 residence halls. So you'll see the first one there is Alumni Hall. That is where our freshmen are being housed right now. Alumni Hall is a little bit atypical of what you're thinking of when you think of a freshman dorm. Traditionally, you have your communal style living like Morgan was talking about, but for Alumni Hall, it's more of a suite style. So you have 3 other people that you're sharing a communal space with, and then you're sharing that bathroom with them as well. So a room for the bathroom and then a room for the shower. And then you also have the opportunity to live on campus all 4 years if you choose to do so. About 75% of our freshmen are living on campus their first year. And as they move up, they traditionally try to stay in the townhouses because you do get that off-campus feel while still staying really close to campus. So our Westchester campus also was recently renovated within the past 5 years. So everything's been updated in terms of that. And we're going to go into some pictures after I just touch on Division II sports. So our Division II sports teams, all of the sports are listed there. They compete in the NCAA, and students that are interested in playing Division II sports can reach out to the coach of their respective teams. We also do have club sports as well as spirit squad supporting our Division II teams. If students want to in New York City, they can take the PACE bus up to Westchester to support their students, as well as take the Metro North back and forth between those 2 campuses if they choose to do so. But it doesn't mean you're taking all of your classes on both campuses. Your home campus is going to be your home campus. We just offer both amenities for students to choose from in case you want to have that option. So going into the photos now of our Westchester campus, you'll see this is the Kessel Student Center. So this is where you're going to be hanging out with your friends, meeting with clubs, as well as the dining hall is located in there. So I personally have eaten at the dining hall. It is good food. So definitely look into getting a tour where our students can talk a little bit more about each dorm building. But this is Alumni Hall that I was telling you about. So this is the freshman dorm. And then behind it, you'll see our other dorm, which is that brick building behind there. That is Elm Hall. And then, as I mentioned, Pleasantville is very conveniently located near the train station, which will take you through Grand Central. So you can take the Metro North all the way down there and then really go anywhere you want into the city. So our Metro North is the equivalent to the New Jersey Transit.
All right, so we talked about New York. Now we're going to talk a little bit about going further afield. So study abroad is definitely a big part of the PACE experience. About 15% of PACE students choose to study abroad. That's about double the national average. So definitely a big part of our campus. We have a study abroad department and an office on both campuses. So if this is something you're interested in, it's as easy as when you start at PACE, just going to visit them to go through options. We have partner universities all over the world. So if there's a certain part of the world you want to go to, chances are we'll have a couple of options for you there to pick from. What's nice is also that in a lot of cases, you're not going to be paying any extra than you would be to just come to PACE for that semester. We also, for somebody who maybe wants to have that experience, doesn't want to be gone for a full 2 to 3 months, we have some shorter options for you as well. So during the summer, during our January intersession and spring break, we typically have some options that are faculty-led in a couple different places around the world that you can choose from. So for example, it's a tradition that our Lubin School of Business does a trip to China every year. It's led by faculty. Typically, it's tied into some of the classes you might be taking related to business in Asia, things like that. So it's another nice way to connect some of the things you are learning in the classroom to other things in the outside world away from PACE. And then clubs, organizations. So we have over 150 to choose from. We're not going to list them all because we don't have enough time and it would be really boring. But you can find a full list of those on our website. Even better, which I really appreciate, is that it gives you a little description, and it also gives you the contact information for the student leadership of that club. So if you are really curious about something you see in that list, you want to know a little bit more about what it's like, is this going to be a community I want to be a part of if I come to PACE, you can just send them an email. They're always in recruitment mode, so they're going to enthusiastically reply to your email. Yeah, like I said, it's just a great way to figure out like what is going to be my place on campus before you even arrive on campus. And then, yeah, so a few other things. First is sustainability and the environment. So this is something that's very important to PACE. This year, we were actually named the #3 environmental law program in the nation by US News and World Report. And that's in addition to a lot of other things that we do on campus to really focus on this with our students, faculty, and staff. One example that I like to give is the solar tree. So I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a solar tree before. Basically, it looks like a tree, but what would normally be like the leaves or the canopy is made up of solar panels. So the trunk itself, there's places where you can plug in your devices. It has lights that are powered by the solar energy. It gives out Wi-Fi, so you could literally be studying for a final out in the middle of a field. Why I like to highlight that is that was a student-led project. So some students heard about solar trees, thought it was a really great idea, brought it to the administration. Administration also thought it was a great idea. And ultimately, they were able to work with Con Edison, who are an electrical supplier in New York State, to have them fund some of that program, that project. So from start to finish, this was really a student-led project initiative, and it's just it's a very cool symbol of the types of things you could also achieve on campus. And safety and security, definitely a big part of going to college, of just life in general. So this does look a little bit different on our 2 campuses. Up in Westchester, at all of the road entrances to the campus, there are security booths set up. Anybody who is driving on or off campus does have to check in. On our New York City campus, that's at the entrance of all of our buildings. So you'll have an ID card that you need to use to swipe in or out. And that includes visitors too. At the moment, we are closed to visitors, but typically when we do allow visitors, they have to be checked in with security. They have to be with the PACE student or faculty staff who invited them at all times. Something else that we like to highlight when we talk about safety and security is the PACE Safe app. It's extremely active. There's lots of things that you can do on there, everything from sharing your location with your friends so that they can, track you when you're walking back from their dorm to yours late at night after studying. You can request security to come and escort you from one building to another if you're feeling a little bit unsafe. And at the moment, this has also been a place where we've instituted a lot of different things to help our students stay safe when it comes to COVID and everything that's happening with that as well. I had something else I was going to say, and I'm blanking on what it was, but if I think of it, I will throw it in at the end.
Thanks, Morgan. All right, I'm going to take it away. I'm going to talk about the second pillar of the PACE path to talk a little bit more about careers and internships here at PACE. So like Morgan said, we have one of the largest internship programs in the New York metropolitan area, which typically means that PACE students have about 3 to 5 internships at the time they graduate with us. So really a great way to get involved in making sure that you are getting ready for the real world and becoming market ready, as our career services office likes to say. So really hands-on in terms of doing those mock interviews with you, writing a resume, writing a cover letter, and then also having access to something called Handshake. Handshake is a kind of like an Indeed, a job search site that companies are directly reaching out to PACE saying, we want PACE students to do their internships at that company, right? So Career Services does a lot of vetting and making sure that you're not just an intern that's running out to go get coffee for someone. You really are getting that hands-on experience. I usually like to give the example on this slide that Amarina, which is on the top right-hand side on my screen, she worked at The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. So she had a really hands-on experience in providing feedback to Stephen Colbert after his shows. She also had the opportunity to work at Nickelodeon, which was where she was making memes to post on their SpongeBob Instagram account. So you may have recognized some of those as well. And then before we move on from this slide, I always like to talk about Viacom. Viacom hires a ton of PACE students primarily because of the students that have come before you. Viacom is a parent company for Paramount Pictures, Nickelodeon, MTV, and BET. So a lot of television networks that you may have not even realized. So a lot of students are working there either in the business side, and they're really making sure that you get that experience to put on your resume and hopefully land that job after graduation. So talking about who's hiring PACE students, I gave the example of Viacom. Of course, the New York City Department of Education works very closely with our student teachers, as well as our recent graduates from the School of Education. And then I always like to talk about the White House. We recently saw the FBI on campus for a job fair that we held last year. So that was something that was always really neat for us to see. They are looking for PACE students to come after graduation or just do a summer internship in DC. So tons of experience for students to do, not only locally in New York, but abroad.
Okay, so the next few slides are going to be related to the application and things like that. This first one is about financial aid. Definitely a big consideration when it comes to families. So there's a couple of tools that we have that are helpful in figuring out how much PACE might cost for you. You can see them at they're going to be at the web page that you see at the bottom of your screen. I'll explain the two tools that we have. So firstly, every student who is accepted to PACE is offered a merit scholarship. It's going to be somewhere in the range of $10,000 to $28,000. So that is all based off of the information that you provide to us when you apply to PACE. Mostly it's going to be your high school grades. So to get kind of an estimate of what that merit scholarship might look like, you can go to the webpage that's there, put in your grades, and it's going to tell you roughly how much that's going to be. That will also actually be in your acceptance letter. So when you're admitted to PACE, you'll see which scholarship you're being offered, how much it's for, and that does renew every year that you're a full-time student at PACE. And then the other tool that we have is called the net price calculator. So this is going to give you a more overall view of how much PACE might cost yearly. And what it does is it takes financial information, tax information, as well as your high school grades. So that's how we determine needs-based financial aid, using the free application for federal student aid, more commonly known as the FAFSA. So as long as that is in, typically within 2 to 3 weeks, you'll get a full financial aid package as long as all of the details on the FAFSA are correct. So both those tools are at that website. On average, as you can see on the screen, about $25,900 is what a student can expect to get from PACE, roughly in that area. And then the application. So the application is available in 2 places. It's on the Common App and it's on our website. It's the same in both. There's no supplemental essays or anything like that. It's the basic Common App application. The only additional essay you might see is one optional community service-based essay. You don't have to fill that out if you don't want to, but if you do, it's just asking you to go through all of your community service experience so that you can be considered for that scholarship. We are test optional, as you can see up on the screen. And so if you do want to apply to PACE and you feel great about your high school grades and that they reflect you as a student, don't feel too great about the scores that you've received when you've taken those tests, please don't hesitate to apply test optional to PACE. We know there is skepticism about, does test optional actually mean test optional? If I submit test scores, will that benefit me in some kind of way? We want to reassure you, applying to PACE test optional, truly you're going to be considered in the same way as any applicant who submits their test scores to us. The one thing that's not mentioned up on here for anybody who might be interested in our performing arts programs is that there is an additional performing arts application. So that is available through a website called Accepted, and we'll talk about the deadline in a moment. So that'll be coming up, but for that, it's purely, you're going to be going through a pre-screen and audition process. So it has a little bit of an early deadline because of that additional requirement.
I'm talking about deadlines. So just to reiterate, Morgan did talk about the performing arts application. So the date that's listed on here, December 15th, is that academic application portion. And then after that, you can start submitting your pre-screens. You can, of course, submit them both earlier, but those are the deadlines that we have outlined on the screen. On the left-hand side, you'll see our early decision and early action deadlines. So just as a reminder, early decision means that it is binding. So you are 110% certain that you want to come to PACE and you don't you don't need to compare financial aid packages to other schools, or you don't want to explore other options, that's early decision. Early action is just the benefit of finding out earlier, and we have 2 of those dates, one in November and one in December. So you just have the benefit of finding out within that month range and making sure that you have enough time to make your informed decision to look at your financial aid package. And then our regular decision and our program specific deadline of nursing is February 15th. So again, we have a rolling deadline after that, but that February 15th deadline ensures that you have your application in and we can get it back to you by that National College Decision deadline of May 1st. So you have enough time to review all of your decision letters that you got, all of the merit scholarship that you hopefully got, and maybe even come onto campus for a tour and make that decision by May 1st. So applying for financial aid. So now we're on October 5th. The FAFSA opened on October 1st of this year. So the priority deadline is November 15th. So what that means is between October 1st and November 15th, you really can maximize the opportunity that you have of money that you can possibly get, right? So for Pace University specifically, you'll get your merit scholarship on your acceptance letter. After you file the FAFSA, we'll send that information to you, but it doesn't mean that we're going to look at your FAFSA and say that you don't deserve any merit scholarship. It's going to stay the same your entire time at Pace as long as you're maintaining a certain GPA, and you're going to be using your prior year taxes on your FAFSA. So if you're applying in fall 2021, you're going to be using your 2018 taxes. So this one uses the example of fall 2020 because it's an easy date to remember, -2, that's 2018, right? So just making sure that you are using that prior year, that's the term that's usually used. And you can go to FAFSA.gov for additional information on how to file it. We are also hosting a few webinars virtually on this platform, so making sure that you check out our website as well. And you can check out our financial aid resources on our website personally. There are some things that we'll review and making sure that you are really getting everything in on time and maximizing, like I said, that opportunity to get the most amount of money that you can receive. And of course, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to admissions. Like Morgan said, I work in Northern New Jersey. Morgan works in Central and Southern New Jersey. So we are both your admissions counselors and we're happy to connect with you. We're going to open this up to Q&A at this time. We can put our information in the chat as well, so you can reach out to us directly. And we hope you enjoy.
So I don't think there's a chat for us. I was looking at that for us to put our information in there. But if you just email the email you see on there, undergradadmission@pace.edu, and you can say, hi, my name is so-and-so. I live in this town. I'd love to be connected with my admission counselor, and they'll forward that along to us and put us in connection with you. And while you might be typing in some questions, we also just wanted to highlight, Bridget had mentioned we're connecting with students through webinars, things like that this fall. We have a bunch of other ways to connect with us as well. The best place to look for all of those is if you visit www.pace.edu/fall events. That has a full list of everything that we're doing this fall, from those how-to webinars, daily virtual information sessions, walking and driving tours of our campuses, requesting a one-on-one information meeting with one of the admission counselors. All of that's going to be available on that webpage that I just gave you, which is www.pace.edu/fall events.
Yes, and you can also check to see if we're virtually visiting your high school as well.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to connect and just reach out to your high school counselor to see if PACE is visiting your school virtually. We'd be happy to connect with you there as well. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I think we're getting some questions coming in.
Yeah, so we have one question, which is, if you are a musical theater applicant, is the merit scholarship also grade-based? So I can answer that one. So when we're looking at your high school grades, we're still going to offer you a merit scholarship. So it doesn't matter what program you're applying to at PACE. You're going to be offered the same range as anybody else who is applying. And when you're at PACE, you're going to continue to get that same merit scholarship every year as long as you maintain the GPA required for that scholarship. So yeah, there's no preference or there's no differences between the different majors at PACE.
The next question I'm seeing is the pre-medicine program on PACE. So we do have some pre-medicine programs, which means that you would be majoring in biology, chemistry, or just chemistry or physics, one of those sciences that will really get you the prerequisite courses to be eligible to apply to medical school down the line. So this gives you the opportunity to take all of those classes, as well as be involved in internships, as well as research opportunities to make yourself a little bit more competitive when you do apply to med school around your junior year at PACE. So one example that I like to give is one of the students that used to work in our office, Rudra. They just started at medical school this year. He had the opportunity to do research with professors talking a little bit more about, I get a little confused about this because I'm not too sciencey, but they made a Neosporin that has sunscreen on it. And so he was able to make himself stand out to his admissions team on the medical school side and get that really good experience in that way.
We've been told we have to watch out for Rudra's big break when we see that product everywhere. He was very proud of it.
Yeah.
So for the moment, we don't have any more questions coming in yet, so please feel free to throw those in there. This is a great opportunity for us to explain those out loud. One thing I can talk about while you're putting those in is we do have some open houses that are coming up. So this Saturday, we're going to be having an open house for our New York City campus. And then the following Sunday, which is October 18th, we're going to be having an open house for our Westchester campus. So some of the perks are you're going to be getting to hear in more depth about PACE, and specifically you're going to get to hear in more depth from faculty about specific programs. So for example, if you are a performing arts student, when you're coming to this, you're going to hear directly from performing arts faculty for a solid 45-minute session, I think is what they have. One of the other perks of attending one of our open houses is we are offering application fee waivers for attending them. So if you are looking to get an application fee waiver for your application, this is the one way that we're offering it at the moment.
One question that I get commonly asked that I'm going to pose to us is our average GPA and average SAT and ACT scores. So I can answer that. Our average GPA is a 3.3, which is an 88 or a B+. So that information we would get from your high school transcript. And then our average SAT is an 1140 and average ACT is a 24. But like Morgan talked about, it is not required that you submit your test scores, and we are test optional for all of our programs for fall 2021. And it will not disqualify you for merit scholarship as well.
And something that I don't know where, there's normally a slide about our honors college, so I can maybe explain that a little bit more. I don't know where that went. So we do have an honors college. Everybody who applies to PACE is automatically considered. So there's not a supplemental essay again. There's not even a box that you have to check. The moment that you apply, you're going to be considered. Our honors college is test optional as well. This is new this year. So some of the perks that come with the honors college: increased merit scholarship. So they typically have a little bit of a higher range of merit scholarship available to them. There's additional financial aid available for studying abroad, as well as for student research. So you can put a proposal together and there's funds available to make that research happen. They have honors only classes, early registration for classes. They have their own study lounge on both campuses, their own floor in the residence halls, and a whole range of other things that I'm forgetting. There's a full list of probably about 30 different benefits that come with the Honors College on their webpage. If you're not admitted to the Honors College at the point of admission, you can apply after your first year at PACE to be considered based on your grades at PACE. The Honors College does have minimums, and those minimums are not going to mean that you're automatically in. It just means that you're in consideration. That's because they take the top 10% of each incoming class. So the minimums are a minimum 90 GPA, a minimum 1310 SAT, and a minimum 28 ACT. So if you meet those minimums, then you would be in consideration. And the one thing I always like to reassure students, the Honors College, it's not extra work. We're not making you take more classes, do more essays, or anything like that. It's just different work. So we're going to swap out classes you'd be required to take anyway with honors classes. And so really it's just about learning those topics in a different way. So having taught in some way that's a little bit more different. And a question I sometimes get asked is, are there limits? Do you have to apply to certain majors to be considered for the Honors College? You can be a student in any of our majors and be admitted to the Honors College. That includes performing arts.
Morgan, I can take this one. So talking about study abroad options for students of a particular major. So Morgan talked a little bit more about faculty-led programs, but I can talk a little bit more about different programs such as performing arts. So the performing arts program does offer some study abroad opportunities. Those are traditionally held over the summer. For the International Performance Ensemble program, which is the acting program, students do have the opportunity to go abroad to a town outside of Barcelona to produce a production in the theater out there. But students traditionally in specifically other programs have the opportunity to do those summer-long programs that may be 1 month over the summer or over their spring break or their winter break. They can do those.
And one thing I know that they're expanding it is that up until now, commercial dance students have had the option of going to Los Angeles for their junior year. So doing a semester out there, taking classes, we'll set up appointments so that you can showcase in front of agents and things like that. So for students who are considering moving out west after their time at Pace, this is a great opportunity to make those connections. So we started that with the commercial dance program, and it's been really popular, very successful. So I know that they are looking at expanding that to some of the other BFA programs and options that we have as well. So we do not have any questions in here at the moment. We have about 8 minutes left. So if you do have any last questions you want to throw out there and have us cover, you can definitely do that right now. We're also happy, we'll provide our contact. Like we said, you can contact undergradadmission@pace.edu if you have any follow-up questions after today.
If there's not many other questions, I think we can probably wrap up here in the effort to save some time. So we're going to wrap it up here. We appreciate everyone attending today. We hope you have a good rest of your evening and you're staying safe and healthy and have a good week.
Thank you both for this fantastic presentation. You were both wonderful. It was very informative. I definitely learned a lot. And I now really want to study abroad again because that just sounds like such a great experience. So for all of you still in the room, after this presentation ends, there will be a quick 4-question survey that will pop up for you. And we would really appreciate having the feedback all about that. And again, please check out our virtual fair website on njacac.org because you will be able to see additional sessions to sign up for, as well as recordings of this presentation, as well as many others from last week and this week. So again, thank you to Morgan and Bridget for this wonderful presentation about Pace University. And if there are no last questions, I'm gonna let everyone have a wonderful start to an early evening.
Thanks so much, everyone. Bye for now.